everyone can get in tune to its own being. That's what we meant to be aware human beings, and to develop that communication voice, like a communication way with that inner voice, what is stronger than us, more aware than us, more wiser. It's the infinite intelligence of our source, divine source.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com.
Welcome to a little different format of When You Choose You podcast. From today onwards, we are going to have these small little bites of information or knowledge from me, because I was talking to a lot of people and they were expecting advice and a bit of touch of my own work with clients in authentic health. So because I'm listening and I want to make sure that our listeners, who are amazing, by the way, so you out there who listen to this podcast episode every week, I'm talking to you. I want to thank you, because you are a valuable asset of what this concept is becoming. So I do value you, I do appreciate you, and I want you to know that you are part of a community that creates this value and brings empowerment in people's lives. So from today onwards, we are going to have 1 week episodes when I'm going to discuss little, like probably small themes or topics, what I get feedback from my clients and people around me that they feel the need of developing and getting clarity on these subjects. And every second week, my amazing guests, and they're getting better and better, by the way, are going to be here for you, and you are going to enjoy my conversation with them. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about intuition, and I'm going to explain a little bit why I value so much the power of our intuition. And there is no better place to discuss about intuition than in the podcast called When You Choose You. That you at the end of this statement, when you choose you, is the intuition, is the higher self. And you might say, okay, hold on a second. What does higher self and intuition have to do with me not feeling well, or me having a chronic pain, or me experiencing heaviness in my body all the time, or me experiencing not being energized and tonic and dragging my body around? And what is this going to do, and how is this going to help me? Hold on a second, I'm going to explain. You are 3 parts: body, which is the visible part, like the skin, the bones, the muscles, the organs. You are your mind, which is the brain, which is clearly the thinking part of your body, what sometimes interprets the pain, the signals, the way how you perceive your organs' way to express their uncomfort or discomfort or dis-ease, or something is missing, their needs, and you might think you rationalize that. So you feel from a body sensation, you rationalize that into a thought. That thought creates a feeling of fear, a feeling of anxiety, a feeling of low, a feeling of shame, a feeling of some sensation, what we call feelings. the body receives that message, but the soul is the one who is your spiritual being, connects those two. Okay? So you cannot take out from the picture of a physical sensation, as we call. So I'm going to give you a very basic example and very clear that is something what there is no doubt that it's a physical symptom in the body. It's an acute even episode of not feeling well, and how that can connect with your connect the three parts, the mind and the intuition. And that's the intuition is the voice of your spiritual being. So you are sick, as I was in December. And when I was sick, actually, I was stressed for a month, very stressed. And as far as I'm concerned, it was a touch of perimenopause as well, which didn't help. And in the middle of December, I got a flu-like symptoms. And I was, okay, that's totally fine. It will be a flu, it will pass. So I rested, I did my best, and I got better a little bit towards Christmas. And then in New Year's, immediately the 2nd of January, my sinuses got infected, I think. And I chose to go to the doctor. Now, the sinus infection was the physical symptom in my body. My mind played a trick because I was the thought that you are not able to manage. Okay, so you need to go to the doctor to get an antibiotic. In the doctor's room, because the pressure of the system and the consultation is 10 minutes, and I tried to explain what happened to me during the year previously with my sinus infections, there was no time. And the system didn't work for me to support me to have that dialogue about what happened before, how I feel, how I got sick, what's going to work or not work for me. I addressed another cause, what could have been entertaining the infection, the mold in our house, and I wasn't hurt. So I got antibiotic, and I had the antibiotic, something inside me, and pay attention to what I said, something inside me was, okay, this antibiotic is not going to make you better, or is not going to heal you. I shut down that voice because it didn't align with my thought and didn't align with my fear of getting worse. And I followed the doctor's advice, and I did take the antibiotic. 7 days on antibiotic, on steroids, and on drops in my nose and all of that. Immediately when I stopped the antibiotic, the pain on my sinuses came back and the infection came back. Not to the same level, obvious, because there was some antibiotic, like it did, and then kind of calmed down the pain, and I was happy that I'm out of it. A week in the new year in January, and I got hit like by airplane, and I got extremely sick. Again, temperature, fever, this time was more in my throat. And I was like, okay, this time I wasn't stressed, I was rested, I was in a very good place mentally, was no any, I don't know, major things. it was actually quite the opposite. I was happy. I'm getting ready for my book launch. I put together the details for the book launch in September. I am excited. I'm getting people on board. I'm attending events. I was in an extremely positive mindset. So I was actually reflecting on it, and I was like, what is happening here? What is my body trying to tell me? And then when I was able to slow down, actually took pen and paper and put my thoughts on my journal, and I asked myself the question, what is really happening here? And I'm going to share with you a brilliant exercise what you can use for when you have those doubts moments. So you put your dominant hand on your forehead and you ask I asked that question, what is actually going on here? And then you take a break, you make a pause, and you wait to see what comes up for you. I do trust that is actually going to let you know. Your mind is going to let you know. Then I asked my heart, which are my emotions, what is actually going on for me? And then I asked my intuition, and symbolically, the intuition, it's very connected to the gut. And I place my hand on my lower tummy or my tummy, and then I ask, what is actually going on? From one of those places, you are going to get an answer. When that answer feels in alignment and sits well with you, that's your answer. For me, the answer came almost instantly. It was, I took the wrong antibiotic, or an antibiotic that didn't work for me, and the virus what was already in my body and my immune system was weakened. The virus got stronger and it hit me with a bang. So it was nothing to do this time with stress. It was a weakened immune system. Now, the fact that my belief of not taking antibiotic is the solution, or the GP is not my solution, contributed to the antibiotic not to work. Because if I was going in a full acknowledgement and fully believing that the pill is going to make me better, that pill, it was going to work for me. So let me bring that to the medical system. When is the case to listen to the medical system? When is the case to question the medical system? How to develop that voice, inner voice? Because I am a very intuitive person. I am a very in tune with myself person. And I do believe that everyone can get in tune to its own being. That's what we meant to be aware human beings, and to develop that communication voice, like a communication way with that inner voice, what is stronger than us, more aware than us, more wiser. It's the infinite intelligence of our source, divine source. How can you access that voice in a very clear way? You need clarity. In a very safe way. You don't want to stay at home and relying on a false thought that is better to stay at home because you don't want to go to the hospital. When the answer for you is go to the hospital because you are serious. It's serious what's going on, okay? And how that voice gets to be heard when you are in a conversation with a medical care professional, by the way, does not have that voice developed and does not have that awareness developed. Remember, you cannot talk to anyone from a different place of awareness because the message won't get across. So in my case, the doctor didn't hear me when I said about I am on the third time with sinus infection in 12 months. Can we do a swab? Can we do a swab to see if what the origin of infection is? Or is the mold entertaining? Those questions were coming, my intuition brought them up. But the medical care professional didn't have the openness, the awareness, the space to answer my question. So that was the moment when I had to make a decision for myself. And one very important aspect is to get to know that voice, and that voice is getting stronger the more we practice. I do believe that if you are listening to this and you are still feeling on a wobbly terrain, I totally understand you, I hear you, I see you, and I promise I'm not going to say anything to anyone what is dangerous. Because I'm working day in, day out, hour in, hour out with people's biggest asset. And to me, if you are my client, and when I'm so aware that my advice can be taken and being applied, and I'm feeling so responsible for every time when I give any sort of advice or recommendation, make sure that sits well with you. And I trust the divine within you that is going to keep you safe and to give you that voice of consciousness and clarity that is going to help you to make the right decision. So when you're going to the doctor, if you are going with the concept of the doctor is going to make me better, that's exactly where you are going to get your answer from. And that's totally 100% correct for you. But you need to be in alignment with that thought, mind, heart, and intuition. It's actually intuition. And if you feel a doubt, 100%, like 1%, 0.0001%, if there is a little doubt in this, unpack that doubt and sit with it and see where it's coming from. Pay attention to your doubts. It will help not only develop that intuition, but it will help to access you. And that you knows more than you can possibly conceive and think. You probably heard of the saying, you are stronger than you think. Is that you, the divine within you, the higher consciousness within you, it's stronger than your physical being at the moment and your consciousness. So please take this with an open mind, an open heart. And if it doesn't land well for you today, that's totally fine. But that will be the foundation of what we are going to build together. And that's the way how I work with my clients. The clients help me to help them. Do you see? I cannot help anyone if that person is not open and willing to work on its own capacity of receiving. And that capacity of receiving, it's intuition. Because that's your communication, like it's the way to communicate with your divine. So when you're going to a medical care professional, you have the right to have a different opinion. Because, and I'm not against the system, and I'm going to share something with you. When I trusted the system, I put my life into the system's hands, and I was right. Because I knew with every single fiber of my being that that's correct thing for me to do. So when you are going and interact with the medical care system and a professional with a lot of respect, love, and awareness, do advocate, do list your questions, do talk about feelings, because you are responsible for that. You cannot blame the medical care system or person in front of you that they didn't give you space. If they didn't give you space, you can ask for space, or you can change the medical care professional. Okay? And I know there are probably medical care professionals who are going to hear this. I kindly suggest and to listen to people who are showing up in your practice, because ultimately you are going to help a human being who is mind, body, and feelings, and not treating a symptom. The symptom who presents in a person, it's part of that holistic human being in front of you. And I'm sure that if you are going to hear this message, I invite you to touch base, to leave a comment, to let me know what are your thoughts of that in this direction. So in 2008, I was, after giving birth to Lucas now for 18 months, after 18 months. So Lucas was 1.5 year old, and I fainted in the shower. And it was very unusual. I felt that sensation that I cannot breathe, and then I fainted. And I don't want to go in many details. So investigations, doctor, medical care professionals, all that. I wasn't anemic. My bloods were okay. What wasn't okay was the oxygen levels. And when I did a spirometry, because I had scoliosis before, I couldn't do the spirometry. So I was listening to two opinions, and I decided to listen to the advice that I will be better to get an operation, so a corrective surgery to strengthen my spine. So I got my spine fused. Currently, I have 2 rods, 13 screws in my back, and I had the most successful recovery. I had the shortest recovery, and after a 12 hours operation, losing 2.5 liters of blood and everything like that, like any other, it was absolutely seamless. Everything went so well. And I heard people around me, parents, friends, you are risking too much. You are not going to be back on track again. You risk your mobility for lifetime and all of that. Nothing was going to stop me, because I believed in me that this is my way. And what happened after, I projected that. So that exactly happened for me. But first, that's very important part. I believed with every single fiber in my body that that's the right thing to do for me. That's the episode what I think is going to empower you, and I really hope that I am going to make someone's life much more easier and changing the perspective. So nothing is bad, nothing is wrong. Both approaches, the Western medical system, the science. But the science is more here. It's more information, it's more thoughts, it's more intellectual. The science is not coming from a place of intuition. But guess where the biggest ideas are coming and the best outcomes are coming? From the place of intuition. So do your best to match those things and you will be in your best place ever. Thank you for being with me on this episode, and I look forward to hear from you all your comments, all your thoughts on it. And if you like this format, do press the subscribe button, press the like button, and I am very grateful. And I want to remind you, when you choose you, you are your best self.